Well, now I am. So yeah, we have a good chunk of change to talk about today. The main thing on the agenda is Deloitte recognizing Quant as a finalist for, I think it was Innovator of the Year. Let me make this title.
Hey Ghost, hey Lounge.
Howdy, howdy. Hey Paul,
I
how's it
have
going?
a question, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you find out what CPU it was?
No, I have not. I need to ask my brother about that. So I'll I'll get on that as soon as I can.
That's
Thank you for
terribly disappointing.
very pertinent to talk about right now. Thanks, Paul. I can always depend on you, man. For real though.
Yeah, sorry. Have a good one.
No, you're Gucci. You're Gucci. Don't be scared. It's all good. So so yeah. We have the big G right here. Very proud of our team to be shortlisted by Deloitte as the most disruptive fintech. And we see here, uh, and oh yeah, I'll link this in the chat. We've got quite the trippy little visual over here. Jimmy. Everyone's developing, man. Everyone's developing over time. So, oh man, that's funny. Okay, so yeah, so Quant is proud to announce that we have been shortlisted for the 2021 Deloitte Most Disruptive FinTech Awards. So, and it's interesting that this is done via Deloitte Ireland in particular, which is quite interesting. We've also seen Quant open up a new office in Ireland recently. Um, I would guess in order to deal with clients and also to have EU exposure, because even though they're based both in Switzerland and the United Kingdom officially, they still do not have like jurisdictional access to the EU that they can have with a Ireland-based subsidiary. Um, and so yeah, if we click on Deloitte Ireland right here, uh, it almost feels like you should be putting on like 3D glasses to watch this or something. So we see right here, let's do a little analysis, right? We have Financial Services Ireland at the bottom, right? Then we have the Banking and Payments Federation Ireland and then the Irish Times all sponsoring this together, which is going to be presented actually next Thursday. So we'll know the winner by this time next week. So fingers crossed, just stay Quamfy. And we see this.
Girls, the video is private.
Oh, the video is private. Oh, sorry. One moment. All right, that should be good now. Yeah, I had to rush on here. I didn't have the 30 minutes before I had to prepare like I would have wanted. So again, my apologies. We're getting better every time. So all right. So keep telling me how I can get better. But yeah, we see in the comments down here that Quan is just filling up just absolutely filling up the comment space under this Deloitte Ireland announcement. Um, and this is specifically for most disruptive fintech. And we have Eileen, Eileen, Eileen Lamau, dude. So we have Eileen. I haven't even looked at these yet. It's just alien.com. Nice. You can check that out and see what our competitors are um, venturing into. Okay, so this is probably like a machine learning algorithm that they've developed in order to basically have social sentiment. Um, yeah, natural language processing. Mm. This built into an API access is pretty cool. Um, okay, so and then we have know your customer. Why, that's a horrible name. That's a horrible name. Okay, maybe we can click the link and find them. They really don't want to be the first thing that comes up on their search engine optimization. That's search engine de-optimization at this point. They don't even
I
have a.
posted the link in.
You did? Oh, beautiful, Paul. I can depend on you. Thank you.
Yeah, someone else had to show me it.
Hmm. Hmm. Their logo almost looks like Walmart. Pretty interesting. Real time digital KYC. Hmm. Interesting. These guys are pretty cool. This is just a platform though, and so eventually they're going to have to like deal with the fact that like this such a platform needs to um, be interoperable, and so technologies like like Overledger, um, SSI based credentials like DIDs and VCs don't disrupt this by destroying them, but rather by accentuating what KYC is built on here and makes them extendable to other platforms as well. So yeah, good stuff here. By the way, that's nice. They seem to have like deep trenches in the Monetary Authority of Singapore and also the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. So they might have like Asian presence. So yeah, we've got
But
some like. Go ahead.
isn't KYC integrated in OVN or Overledger already?
Um, I mean, yeah, but it's not purpose built for KYC compliance only. I mean, KYC compliance is a part of what Quant is definitely seeking to integrate into their platform. But it's again, the focus is interoperability, not um, customer onboarding necessarily, which is what this is. And obviously Quant is like all about regulatory compliance as a principle, but that anyone worth their salt in the vertical they're aiming for, which is that of corporate and public infrastructure services, like they have to be this sort of they have to offer this sort of uh, ethos. So obviously we're pretty biased. Quant's unique offering seems to be much more essential than a NLP platform and a KYC onboarding platform. But what do I know? Like Alien could win for all for all I know. But it's also very interesting. I think something that people are might be sleeping on is the fact that Deloitte uh, is is claiming Quant to be up for such an innovation without Quant necessarily being too public about their initiatives. So when Gilbert says that they're integrated with the Big Four, this is kind of what it means: is that like Deloitte is helping handle integrations at scale with multiple partners, and kind of taking a queen bee style approach where you get the queen bee, and so the entire hive follows the queen bee, and so it's just a nice way of like networking and extending like how far your technology goes and into how many hands that it goes, and therefore leveraging your network effect and building upon Metcalfe's law. So pretty interesting stuff right there. Does anyone have any like comments on this or questions or anything like that? No? That's all good. Uh, okay, so yeah, man, quantum the moon. So yeah, what else could we talk about? I mean, this is the really the only major thing that happened, um, as opposed to like last week where we had two pretty important interviews, one with Gilbert, one with Luke Riley, over and over again. Yeah, Jamie, Hawaiian vibes for sure. Um, just keep it real. Um, but yeah, so I think we had a like a one of our community members bring up the fact that they wanted a comparison between the the sort of interoperability Quant brings to the table, and then the sort of interoperability other competitors would. Something the likes of, recently Polkadot picked up on the whole, oh, we're layer zero meme, like in order to like make them seem so much more fundamental than a layer one blockchain. And so Polkadot, Cosmos, um, so I saw someone mention Constellation. How does Constellation's interoperability method uh, compare? And David Dowie, definitely that is the um, that has been the meme of Constellation, and but Constellation is much more honest about it, and I would contend that they are more of a layer zero than a true layer one, um, and which is why I think it's been so difficult for them to construct a coherent layer one system where every node is participating in consensus, because it's like a right like it, and we can go back to actually Luke Riley's presentation to as a crutch here, because he already categorized and compared all the DLT interoperability solutions that the world is reaching for at the moment, and there may be other there actually may be other mechanisms that are emerging that may not fit within this taxonomic set, but I can mention those later. And so yeah, just it's such a badass talk. I really recommend everyone to watch the whole thing. There's like a chunk in the middle I haven't properly given my attention to because I had real life things to deal with, but I definitely will be getting around to watching the whole video. Um, so yeah, so again, I'm gonna briefly plow through what Luke already did, and then like get to the basis of the question, and then also maybe even build on what may not fit within these categories. So interoperability is just the ability for, in this case, multiple blockchains to interact with one another, or distributed ledger networks with different DLTs. So an example, by the way, of a DLN versus a DLT is that you can think of a DLN as the instantiation of a type of DLT, kind of like how LAC chain uses Hyperledger Bisu, LAC chain being the DLN and Hyperledger Bisu being the DLT technology. And a lot of times DLT technology or DLNs that are based on the same DLT technology have a much easier time of promoting interoperability between each other. So that is something that Quant is seeking to overcome, which is like instead of just the neurotic focus on only one DLT, but the ability to accommodate rather all DLTs and the respective DLNs. So yeah, Luke is saying you need different features, different apps, and consortiums which are using different ones. So and I think I'm just gonna like parse through this and go. Hmm. So yeah, to the categories. And again, it's from the World Economic Forum. our buddies over there, they coined the term API gateway, and Quant then pivoted over to it from an operating system, which is kind of a shame because I think the operating system meme is pretty powerful, but so is the API gateway at this point. So I'm not bothered. But so the three ones are cross authentication. So this is something like hash time lock contracts, oracles, which is something more along the lines of what Chainlink and Constellation are doing, and then the API gateway method. And so let's go to okay. And so there's apparently this like bespoke application as well, where the interoperability connection has been built without using any of the previously mentioned categories. Oh, I want to mention this. So Dfinity released something very interesting recently, which is a native Ethereum integration on their platform, which I think is has been it's been long coming. Dfinity has been around like for about 4 years now in its current form, and it's got some powerful primitives. But let me just bring up this tweet so I can show you what I mean. I'm going to link this in chat. So Dfinity is claiming that they have the ability to directly interoperate with different chains through their platform. I think this is also similar to Hedera's consensus method as well. And so this would be the first category, which would be cross authentication. And you can go read the if you're interested, you can go read the article. I won't get into it here, but in essence, it resolves down to simulating the oh shit. Okay, can you hear me again? I seem to have difficulty connecting. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Can I hear some feedback? Okay, so maybe YouTube. Okay, so everyone watching on YouTube, hello. We're back. We never left. I'm going to end the Quamfy Lounge stream, or the one on Telegram, but we'll continue it on YouTube. Thank you for your patience, everyone. All right, cool. So we're going to get back to it. So yeah, I was mentioning before about how the bespoke application category, or sorry, not bespoke, the cross authentication category fits this new sort of this almost endogenous means of chains connecting to one another uh, uh, via basically simulation of requisite primitives on each chain. And now there's a couple problems on this. One being is that you need a highly performant consensus method in order to do so. And Dfinity takes a shortcut to do this in that they use privileged nodes that are like pseudo permissioned in order for them to scale the way they do. And instead of having a more open system, something like Avalanche does. And so you not only need like highly performant ecosystem, you also need the ability to like to perform computation, which so something like Bitcoin can't at least as it stands. Maybe with Taproot it could in the future, but as it stands right now, it's just a pipe dream for Bitcoin to simulate another chain on chain. And you can see also how such resources would bloat excessively. But so yeah, just building into like what all are the differing competing approaches to what Overledger and ODAP are building. And to get back to the actual presentation, we have the bespoke application where the MDAP itself contains the connectors and or the application, right? The DAP, and it's MDAP by nature because it has possibly API uh, API endpoints or what have you. Yeah, so that is a method of interoperability. But again, just like any platform which is building so, and we may be seeing this with um, several of these like dApps which are trying to integrate each chain one by one. Is that each one of these dApps needs to like recreate the same efforts of standardizing the integration of the requisite chain each time. And so this isn't a whole like build the connector once, then just fly, and then deploy as you need. So yeah, getting into cross authentication specifically, um, Luke brings up hash locked contracts, which is like for atomic swaps across DLNs. And again, there are assumptions here. So with online assumption of both parties, so assumption of liveness. So there needs to be interactivity between these entities in order for hash locks to actually have teeth. Um, then there's asset bridges, which is can both be centralized and like distributed. So like you can have one person maintaining the private key of the asset that is being bridged, or you can have a multiple group of parties that are managing such. And this is one of the biggest flaws of potentially bringing, say, Bitcoin onto Ethereum, because the if one person holds the Bitcoin keys and the game theoretic incentive for them to seize that Bitcoin is right, then they will do so, and there's no recourse from them. There's just absolutely none. So that's one reason why a multi-party asset bridge is essential. The next is a DLT relayer. So this is like something along the lines of what uh, Polkadot employs with their relay chain system. And so the relay chain orchestrates. It's the central coordinator of the logistical central coordinator, even though it's distributed between all the different parachains that it's storing headers of in each of its blocks. And again, I'm going to summon Seek's wonderful article comparing um, or going into Polkadot. I think it's a just a wonderful overview and with visuals to boot that is quite powerful. I don't think I'm looking for. So so we see here that Seek is showing his injective partisanship right here, which is interesting. I haven't really looked into it at all, but let's see. I really look forward to once we have more substance coming from Quant Team of the technical basis of solutions they're making. I really look forward to seeing C contribute more as the as a as his ability to represent things via text is pretty motivating, and he's so thorough. So yeah, right here. So yeah, we're going back to Luke's talk right here, and he claims that the most advanced versions of cross authentication are themselves a DLN. So this would be something that he's claiming that the most advanced version is something like Polkadot. Um, I think there's another subdivision of this, which is um, not necessarily a DLN in and of itself. So like the sort of primitive that I was linking to with Definity, that may be a subcategory, but uh, so yeah, and he goes into DLT relays, which is themselves a DLN, are discuss the primary cross authentication interoperability model. Um, so they're like this visualization here is abstracting away like the node topology into a single referable network, which is the method of consensus and how stuff like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and etc. are trustworthy. So yeah, just getting into DLT relayers, uh, and so it just basically MDAP logic must be contained at least partially within the ledgers. So the ledgers need to manage the breakout and break in, so the release or the reception of assets, data, etc., etc. And so Luke actually claims that like this method of interoperability is not even opposed to an API gateway like Overledger, but it actually accoutrements the resiliency of such a deployment, and you can think of this as like um, the the means of interoperability is most trustworthy if you're a parachain through the relay chain of Polkadot. But even if even if this is true, uh, an Overledger uh, connector, an ISO TC307 compliant connector, is still very valuable in the sense that it provides the ability for native interoperability without the need for such a centralized counterparty, logistically centralized, even if it's decentralized in nodes. But it allows for this like redundant backup to where you can still cross communicate and cross authenticate, even if your trust assumption is broken. So it allows that flexibility that normally would be absolutely just not even present if let's say there's some fatal flaw of the relay chain. So next we have oracles, which is allowing DLNs to connect to external data resources, and this is something more along the lines um, of Chainlink, but also really also really Constellation itself. Constellation has like its own network topology that is based upon state channels, and the representation of those state channels, um, as each one topologically fits alongside each other, and this is also like a similar class as to Avalanche, which again is a novel topological consensus that can be laid over different true layer one based consensus protocols, whether it be proof of stake like Avalanche did choose, whether that's proof of work, whether that's proof of authority, whatever you may have. Like this is a complementary approach to scalability, and it's the same way also with what was it, uh, NKN actually. And I actually uh, I have from Wolfram because Stefan Stephen Wolfram actually is assisting them. Um, NKN's method of consensus is extremely similar as well. So excuse me if you've heard. Oh, okay. I can try it. Yeah, I'm getting back in the voice chat. Yellow, can you hear me here too, lads? Awesome.
Hey,
Hello. Hold, hold, hold,
Hola.
hold, 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 hold. Okay, so yeah, I was just like getting into um, I was getting into how like how NKN is similar to Avalanche and Constellation, in that they are like networked oracleization methods in a way, um, and that's through the topological nature of how they perform consensus. Um, and as well, you can have there are such emerging things. I've listed carry here before. Carry is like uber oracleization because it allows for attestation independently of any chain, and compatible with any network that will help the attestation like properly be like censorship resistant. So like that's there's a lot of different approaches that oracleization can foster. Um, and so yeah, and obviously this is like essential for the creation of applications um, and interactions with the non DeFi world, and especially the DeFi world that even the DeFi world that's not even on your chain. So this sort of Oracle system can achieve interoperability. Mm, therefore, it does kind of ask the question whether or not like yeah, how do you resolve Oracle data disagreements? Do you do it with median, average, discard outliers? How do you like if you have a decentralized Oracle system? Why aren't you just using a DLN for that? And why aren't you just going to the more I guess less free form version into the on-chain native approach, which DLT relay, no, not the DLT relayer, but it's like cross authentication. There we go, the cross authentication approach. Um, so yeah, there's just some questions there. Um, and again, Luke is mentioning here that the API gateway approach that Overledger embodies is is complementary to such, and can provide interoperability between users, between different Oracle instances, and also in different Oracle networks as well. And so it's like for every network that you create, there's always going to be an outer boundary, and the outer boundary of such needs to be even as inclusive as the network you are creating may be. It never can include like very rarely does it ever like include all the potential members of all the disparate networks that are being interconnected with one another, especially when you have such varied niches that are present within this DLT ecosystem. And you really need an approach that is kind of like the trust spanning layer of the internet. So something like TCP/IP, which was ubiquitous, and then those applications are built on top in order for your protocol to properly be homogeneous to the set of all the other users of the network. Okay, so again, it just builds out resiliency to have an API aware and like kind of a boundary aware method to these networks, which are by nature uh, boundary making. So yeah, so and they're comparing oracles versus cross authentication. So if no cryptographic authentication is required on the first side, so the reporting, then it's an oracle. But if cryptographic authentication is required on the first time side, so it's like initiation of a transaction, you need a cross authentication. So if you yeah, so basically if it's a data feed, you don't need cross authentication. But if it's a transaction on the other side, cross authentication is necessary. And so then we're kind of building up to this like final category, which is the API gateway. Um, and it's so it's not just one DLT node, but many behind like one API. So not like Infura, which is hosted nodes that is explicitly hosted by the Infura team. It's like you have access to every single person that's running the API gateway and their DLT node, which is connected to the network itself. And you can share these endpoints. You can. This is where the resource availability of decentralized networks comes into play, where you consume and produce standardized DLT data objects, and this is standardized according to ISO TC307 as per usual. Um, and yeah, you can compress DLT actions into one endpoint. That's very interesting. Like I would assume this would be he means by this like MDAPs, which are um, the monolithic representation of several steps and of multiple DLTs in one place. So that I assume that's what he means. Can implement different permissioning systems. So again, the ability to juggle multiple consensus systems and provide easy access to other technologies. And that's again more of like an API based API native approach. So basically it goes like this, and this is what the magic sauce is, that each DLN requires its own connector. But you can, once you build out the connector framework for the DLT, the DLN's connector framework instantiation is trivial because you'll have a set um, uh, list of requirements and maybe subtle changes here and there between the different DLNs, and you can just then copy paste basically most of it. And a nice feature is this as well, is that the MDAP logic doesn't have to, it can exist on the DLN, but also can exist off-chain and independent of the DLNs as well. So again, this we're seeing the agnosticism of the MDAP from from the DLNs through the API gateway, and this is like this is a powerful position to be in because the DLNs have the ability to host the MDAP logic for themselves if need be, but you're not locked in. So a powerful position. Um, so yeah, and multiple users can share the same ledger off ledger MDAP. So this would be almost like a layer two or layer zero, whatever which way you want to look at it, um, approach where this is a means of scaling from these DLNs to the edges to the users at the end right here. And the MDAP can have cross authentication based assurances that make it to where it is trustworthy for them to interact with instead of just trusted. So yeah, and users can also like have their own instance, so decentralization is possible as well. And here we have Quant Network's overledger implementation, where the MDAP is distributed among many users of the network. And again, you can have multiple API gateways hosting multiple DLNs, and each one can correspond to different MDAPs. And yeah, so you just have a bunch of different comparisons of different um, networks which are providing interoperability and different methods that are providing interoperability. Does I've been ranting for like 30 minutes now. Does anyone have any questions or any I like topics of discussion with regard to this? What have I missed? Nothing. Okay. So I guess I'll just go into the different examples then that Luke brings up here. The first being the differences of data translation. So this is a necessary thing that we have to deal with in this world where people treat data as the new oil. And so when you have a bespoke application right here, you're seeing that the custom-made application here is handling the data translation. Um, and this may, there's a whole bunch of trust in this one MDAP as opposed to above seen here where the MDAP is distributed potentially among many users and among many gateways. Um, so you see also that the DLT relayer with differing DLNs, they need bridges, which are in essence connectors. But the bridges are only extendable between the DLN and the relayer, and they're only extendable to each specific DLN and the relayer. So there's a lot of more work that needs to happen in this sort of world. And that's demonstrated here as well. How the DLT relayer 1 to DLN1 and the DLT relayer 2 to DLN1 have different bridges. So oracles, there's a transmutation of the data from DLN1 to DLN2. And that's, again, you got to build out. We keep seeing over and over and over again the sort of need for the standardization of DLN representation that you only really see in the likes of Overledger. And there are some other innovative aspects. Again, Dfinity is trying to work on that, but they still haven't proven it in the field. And this sort of approach is a pretty powerful one, where you build once. You just build the connector once, and then the DLN can connect to any MDAP, um, any other DLN, and whatever. It's an end-to-end connection facilitated by the Overledger-based technology, which filters in orders, transactions, and and other events on these chains to facilitate interoperability. So the DLT API gateway connectors can perform data translation, but to what format? And there we go again. The format is based on ISO TC307. So again, going back to the metagame, which is my article I wrote earlier this year. And by the way, there's a new article I've been so so putting off, but I'm finally in a position. I just recently moved to write it. So expect that, please, coming soon. Keep me accountable. I'd love to provide more content. But yeah, so the metagame just details how important it is that Gilbert and team um, made and founded ISO TC307, and not only are pushing it forward, but also are kind of creating a coherent product around it as well. So yeah, it's something that it's a beast to overcome. Like for someone trying to bootstrap their own standardized method of connecting, and one that is very selfish as well. Like Polkadot only wants to proliferate more parachains, and Cosmos only wants to proliferate more Tendermint chains, and Avalanche wants to proliferate its own consensus, etc., etc. And so like having a agnostic approach to there while also like reaping the benefits of the tokenization and the ability of the network effect of each of these underlying chains is the magic approach right there. So in Luke positions, like if there are competing formats like between like that deviate away from ISO TC307, then yeah, so this is one of the reasons Quant Network are taking a leading role with MIT in developing inter-DLT API gateway communication, or more likely known as ODAP. So Open Digital Asset Protocol. Open Digital Asset Protocol and Carrier are very similar protocols, and they're kind of converging in the same place. I really look forward to seeing the worlds of SSI and DLT interoperability really cross-pollinate, because that's going to be a beautiful world. And so yeah, he's got a little chart here. He makes some claims here, whether or not it's proven, very subjective. It's just interesting. And this is the biggest thing. All WEF interoperabilities can in fact overlap, and I absolutely agree with that. And this is kind of the what he was insinuating before about how like each one of these methods can benefit from an API gateway installed. And so you can see also here you have DLT relayers combined with oracles, which then are combined with API gateways, which then have like let's see, like ancillary tech, which then is um, interconnected through MDAPs between API gateways and different types of API gateways and users of each of these API gateway platforms. So in essence as well, like I forgot, I glossed over this. Other competitors to Quant's approach are taking Quant's very same architectural approach, and because of that, Quant is by far the leading developer for such an interoperability means. Like, it doesn't matter if Daml Canton is taking a gateway approach when they can't even achieve interoperability between each one of their cantons, like internally. They haven't solved that yet, but Quant has. So um, it's a matter of them catching up to where Quant is now, and they haven't gotten to where Quant is now with hundreds of millions of dollars, 100 plus developers, and being in this space for quite a long time. It speaks to the power of the vision Gilbert has had, the technological approach, and the potential going in the future of what sort of network effect that Quant can build. So yeah, I'm glad I reviewed this. Actually, this is really useful for me as well, helping to understand. Um, but I hope whoever asked that question, I forgot who it was, actually benefit from this analysis. Oh, Dr. Puppers, my rant. My rant just keeps me going, dude. We were talking about. There's someone asking about who are the competitors to Quant, and I felt like it would just be worthy to go over Luke Riley's discussion again, in order to just re because he did all that work like in that presentation, and we might as well use the categories that he's building upon. So San, oh man, that's funny, dude. Cheers, dude. Yeah, good night, Albert. Dr. Peppers, do you want to talk about Hyperledger? Like independently of the presentations? I mean, we can. Oh my God. Oh man, this is such a lit night. It's all good, dude.